Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review How to Lose a Battle, Foolish Plans and Great Military Blunders, edited by Bill Fawcett, author of You Did What. Bill Fawcett is also the author of a number of the essays in this book. This book opens with the Alexander's battle at Gaugamela, which is arguably his greatest victory against the Persians, against Darius. In one of my favorite battles in all of history. I know I have personally recounted that battle to people in the past. And it goes all the way up to 1954, one of the battles in Vietnam. Overall, I found this book interesting. The chapters aren't long. Each is, again, they're all essays. There are maps included in some of the chapters, which is nice, so you know the actual troop layouts and how the battles were fought. There's a little bit of blurbs about some of the people involved in the battle, so you have all these little, bio sections about the leaders of the battles and, their backgrounds and what led them to that particular place in time. There were a couple of things I did find moderately problematic about the book, though. One is the title is not what you'd call overly serious. And yet, in all of these battles, yes, one side frequently made some incredibly bad decisions. But those bad decisions led into the deaths of human beings. And there was almost like a frat boy flippance with some of the comments in the essays, which kind of rankled me. Because yes, this is a long time ago. Alexander, 3,000 years ago. But these were still people. And they were still lives. And I just think there should have been a little bit more respect explained. You could have gone at the topic and discussed the same battles with a little more neutral tone, I guess what I'm looking for here. There was an interesting shift when you started talking about American battles. Suddenly there was a sense of reverence that the battles that were just being discussed in the great distant past or about other countries, to my mind, didn't exist. That the American battles were kind of put up on a little pedestal. And it was most noticeable in the chapters that dealt with the Civil War. In particular, there's a large section that dealt with the Battle of Gettysburg. Now, the author of those particular chapters has written a 3-volume set of books on the Battle of Gettysburg. So to say that this man is steeped in the Battle of Gettysburg would be a bit of an understatement. The problem I had is it went beyond reverence and became adoration. There became a point when I realized that the author isn't just discussing this battle. He is speculating about things like, how could the South have won this battle? And not just academic speculation, because we've all done that. What if, Hitler had been a really good painter? That kind of thing. But there was almost wouldn't it have been awesome if the South had won? Now, I have to point out from the get-go, and I apologize if I offend anybody with the following statement. I think that the American Civil War, the Confederacy in its entirety, was a moral abomination. It was an example of traitorous criminals and a group of people that were supporting the slavery of human beings, supporting state rights that allowed them to buy and sell human beings like cattle. So the fact that there is someone that's speculating about wouldn't have been great if the South had won, and that's the tone I took from these essays, is to me very much like hearing someone say, wouldn't it have been awesome if Hitler had won? Wouldn't it have been great if that final solution had finally reached its actual ultimate goal? Wouldn't have that just been spiffy? That's what I hear. When I see someone flying the Confederate flag, or I hear someone talking about Southern heritage, I'm not thinking good thoughts. So the adoration of a group of traitorous criminals that endorsed slavery is not something that I enjoy, and I could not finish reading the chapters that dealt with the Civil War. I just couldn't do it. It got too heavy for me. And it detracted from my overall ability to enjoy this book. And when I originally bought it, I'm like, hey, cool, a book of military stuff. I'm going to put that into my, my reference library of military stuff. And, no, I'm not. I'm not going to keep this particular volume. The tone of those chapters really, to my mind, was deeply offensive. Now, if there are people out there that wish the South had won, have at it, Haas. But I don't. And I wish that the Union had stayed in the South long enough to do an actual reconstruction, as opposed to the half-ass effort they actually put in there, which just made the race relations after the war get even worse. There is the potential, if you've listened to some historians, that the nadir of race relations was actually in the 1920s when it got the worst. Worse than the race relations that might have existed during the South when the whites felt that they were in control. And overall, I was disappointed with the book. There were things in there well worth reading. His interpretation of Alexander's battle at Gaugamela was interesting. It was an interpretation I hadn't read before. I would say that his position was a minority view. I've read a number of other accounts and seen some really good research that the battle didn't go quite the way he describes it, but it's still interesting to hear someone else's point of view. But again, the chapters that put the South on a pedestal really bothered me. And some of the flippant tone that dealt in the book about these battles that failed still cost human lives, and we have to treat that with a certain level of respect, even if their leaders were flat out foolish. So I can't really recommend this book. There are things in it that are worth reading, and there are things in it, in my opinion, that aren't. I guess, caveat emptor, if you want to read it, go ahead, but, I've given you my thoughts.